This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
EU announces arrival of coronavirus vaccines for all European Union countries. Tunisia announces tougher restrictions to contain the coronavirus surge. And border delays spoil the holidays for Zimbabweans traveling home from South Africa. Hello and welcome to CGTN. This is Africa Live. I'm Mahia Mutua in Nairobi. Also coming up over the next half hour. Uganda plans to develop ports on Lake Victoria to spur economic growth. And in sports, Egyptian football crisis deepens as interim officials are dismissed. Let's begin in Egypt now, where an intensive care unit caught fire at a private hospital in Obur, an outlying district of the Greater Cairo area. According to local police reports, at least 7 coronavirus patients have been killed in the blaze. Firefighters were later able to put out the blaze. The cause of the fire is still being investigated by authorities, but local media reports say an initial investigation blamed an electric short circuit for the fire. The National Committee tackling the coronavirus pandemic in Tunisia has prohibited all public gatherings, including those marking New Year festivities. During a meeting with the country's Prime Minister, the Scientific Committee also maintained all current preventative measures and health protocols. The country has also barred flights from Australia, South Africa and the UK to curb the spread of a new strain of the coronavirus. Adnan Shawashi has the details from Tunis.
The Minister of Health says the sanitary curfew has been extended and businesses that don't comply with the restriction, including hotels, restaurants and entertainment venues, will be penalized.
We will strengthen controls and impose a strict observance of preventive measures until January 15, 2021. The curfew will remain in place. The ban on movement between regions is maintained, except in emergencies. All public gatherings and meetings are prohibited. Public and private celebrations are not allowed, including the New Year festivities.
Tunisia's Civil Aviation Authority has reduced activities at the Tunis Carthage International Airport to a minimum so as to prevent the spread of the new virus strain.
Unfortunately, we have suspended arrival, departure and transit flights between Tunisia, the UK, Australia, South Africa and Denmark following the detection of a new COVID-19 strain. We will probably suspend flights to and from other countries. These measures are temporary until the epidemiological situation improves around us and in the world.
Thousands of artists have protested against the stay-at-home orders at night, especially during the winter holidays and on New Year's Eve. Musicians, singers as well as business owners have denounced the state's extension of the curfew and the travel ban.
We must resume work immediately. Artists, musicians and tens of thousands of people earn a living from restaurants, nightclubs and lounges. Maintaining the curfew and travel ban will push people into poverty.
The Health Ministry has warned that any breaches of the new measures will be considered an offence under Tunisian laws, and those found guilty shall be liable to a fine and imprisonment for a maximum term of 6 months. The COVID-19 pandemic will change the way people celebrate New Year's Eve this season. Analysts assert that maintaining the curfew and the restrictions in place for shoppers will have negative social and economic repercussions on the population. Adnan Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
Elsewhere, member states of the European Union have been receiving their COVID-19 vaccines on Saturday. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said that the shipments have been delivered to all EU countries, calling it a touching moment of unity. The rollout follows the EU's approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine on December the 21st, and comes even as some European countries have reported cases of a new strain of the coronavirus. A number of EU members, including France, Germany and Hungary, have received the first shipments. Hungary began vaccinating its healthcare workers after receiving its shipment.
Vaccination will help to get us our normal lives back gradually. Once enough people have been vaccinated, we can start traveling, meeting our friends and family again, and have normal holidays, which we all long for. But until then, we have to continue being careful. We need to protect ourselves and our loved ones from the virus. Let's stay safe together. Let's make 2021 our year of European recovery and hope.
At least 15 people have reportedly died in recent weeks waiting in queues to cross the border from South Africa into Zimbabwe. Coronavirus screening is being blamed for the extended time taken for migrant workers to get clearance to return home for the seasonal holiday. Lines of cars and trucks were seen stretching for many kilometers on the narrow road leading to the Beitbridge port that serves as the main crossing point between the countries. Reports suggest that exhaustion and ill health owing to a lack of facilities at Beitbridge have contributed to the number of fatalities. The South African government is yet to respond. The southern African nation hosts an estimated 1.5 million Zimbabwean migrants. It is suffering a second wave of COVID-19 infections. Authorities suspect the surge in cases has been triggered by a genetic mutation of the disease. You're watching Africa Live on CGTN. It's time for us to take a short break. Here's what's coming up when we return. Uganda plans to develop ports on Lake Victoria to spur economic growth. And Senegal pushes to have its famous national dish added to the UNESCO World Heritage List.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Cairo,
Juba,
Johannesburg, Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
I try to not let it affect me, but there are days when it does. I'm a human being, and to see patients in a hospital bed and their family members are not there, there's no one there to hold their hand, that human touch, you know?
I just hope everyone can remember that this is not permanent and that everything will get better eventually.
Welcome back to Africa Live. Now, in Uganda, residents of Port Bell along the largest lake in Africa are optimistic that the government's plans to develop ports on the lake will spur further economic growth. Port Bell serves as a critical logistics link to Tanzania to its south and Kenya to its east. Leon Senyange now reports.
This is Port Bell, a major inland port on the outskirts of Uganda's capital, Kampala. Dickson Katende calls this place home. He has lived here for over 2 decades now.
People of Port Bell like life. They couldn't breathe off the lake to come and eat their fish, chill down and relax their minds so that they can think for future.
Named after British Commissioner Hesketh Bell more than a century ago, the port has gone through a series of transformations. Ruth Akankwasa now earns her pay selling fish at the market in the area. She admits the port still offers less for its potential.
Our place is bigger than some ports, but its planning is still poor. If you move around, we have shops. People like being here. We only need better infrastructure.
Nearby, the ferries are berthed, and many of the young people can only look on, hoping for work. Some have settled for the odd jobs that come by. More than 1,000 people live and work on this port. Limited opportunities. There is hope that will change when the water transport route from here to other ports on Lake Victoria is fully developed. There are already plans to remodel the port. That will allow more ferries from Kenya's Kisumu and Tanzania's Mwanza ports to dock here. It's a plan Saleh Muyinda wants to see come to fruition.
At Port Bell, we only have parking for 2 or 3 ships. The government wants to expand. Some of us have applied for jobs when that happens. We are hopeful.
The government wants to turn Port Bell into a small-scale cargo port. Local passenger traffic will be enhanced too. Those are plans Saleh, Dixon and many others around Port Bell can only wait on. And hopefully that will inject more life here. Leon Sanyanga, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Now, the annual fishing festival is underway in northeast China, and this year the centuries-old tradition has been infused with a new vitality. It's being watched live by audiences around the globe on the CGTN app and the website cgtn.com, broadcasting real-time video streaming of the fishing event with Huawei's HoloSense 5G cameras. You too can join in the festivities, but before you do, here is Sun Tianyuan's special report on how to fish in a frozen lake.
Winter, the busiest time of the year for fishermen at Chagan Lake. The fishermen came early in the morning to prepare for the big day. And I am about to join the man on a hard day's work.
The ice fishing ritual in the region dates back to about 1,000 years ago. China's Liao and the Qing dynasties. Locals have kept that tradition alive to this very day, and now we're going to find out how to fish like a true Chagan Laker without any modern technology.
A crew leader, also known as Yu Batou, usually the most experienced, decides where to hunt after surveying the ice-covered water. Then the workers start drilling hundreds of holes on the frozen lake to place the massive fishing nets underwater.
The nets are about 2,000 meters long and weigh at around noon. Fishermen will haul in the nets using a horsepower capstan like the one behind me. And it looks like they had a great catch today.
Workers then drive the fish to a local storage facility, and their products will be shipped to customers across the country. While the fishing season carries on for another 2 months, the Chagan Lake's fishing tradition will hopefully last longer. Sun Tianyuan, CGTN, Songyuan, Jilin Province.
Now, Senegal is known for its rich and vast culture that dates back centuries. It's also famous for its cuisine and has been pushing to popularize its national dish, bulletin, beyond its borders. Last September, it submitted a file to have the home-style meal listed under the UNESCO World Intangible Cultural Heritage. According to the authorities, the objective is to promote cultural diversity and the Senegalese culinary heritage.
In Senegal, a popular rice dish known as the bulletin is said to highlight the local culture and identity of its people. It is prepared with fish, rice, carrots, cassava, onions, chili, and many other ingredients. The meal requires around 2 hours of both preparation and cooking time. It is considered a staple food and one of the country's greatest recipes. And now, Senegal wants to put it on a map.
Nous avons un patrimoine culinaire très riche.
We have a very rich and varied culinary heritage, but unfortunately we don't know it. By submitting a file for the inscription of the Thibaut d'Union UNESCO's World Intangible Cultural Heritage List, we are promoting all the local gastronomy. Gastronomy is very important for the intangible heritage. I believe that if Thibaut d'Union is inscribed on UNESCO's World Heritage List, enhance and promote Senegalese gastronomy. This will also allow us to reopen the Senegal Gastronomy Fair, which will be held annually to show the nutritional value of our gastronomy.
The idea has been well received across the country.
We will be very happy if WASH is listed on the UNESCO list of World Heritage. From generation to generation, the Thibaut d'Union is the first dish that mothers teach their daughters to prepare. I assure you that there is no Senegalese woman who does not know how to cook the Thibaut d'Union, because it is the favorite dish of all Senegalese people.
I even think that this dish is known beyond the borders of our country. For example, if you ask foreigners what is the best dish in Senegal, they will tell you Thibaut d'Union. This is why we welcome the idea of including it in the UNESCO World Heritage List. This will give even more value to our dish, the Thibaut d'Union. And we hope that people will come from various countries to taste our famous dish.
Senegal already boasts 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. If selected, the Thibaut d'Union will be the very first Senegalese intangible asset to be listed as a UNESCO. Chamwono, CGTN.
Now let's shift our focus to South Africa once again. Daniel Ramotseng is an artist who uses his skills to draw attention to critical matters in society. He does this through what he calls township art and focuses on children's issues in particular. CGTN's Yolisa Njamela tells us more.
When we visited Daniel Ramotseng, he told us that he likes telling stories of ordinary township people, but he quickly emphasized that most of his work is about children. This he does to capture a child's innocence, pureness, and emotions, the artist says.
Every time when I walk around the township, whenever I see kids playing, interacting with each other, it reminds me of my childhood. Even though many things have changed in these days, things have changed. We have technology, we have everything that kids can want, but there are still those things that are still the same. They still play the same. I remember we used to use rocks or bricks to make cars, to play cars. They still do that even now.
The artist tells these stories in a form of portrait. A portrait is a painting, photograph, sculpture, or other artistic representation of a person in which the face and its expression is predominant.
Sometimes you can look at the person by just his face or her face. It can tell you a lot. A face, just the expression of somebody in his face or her face can tell you if the person is angry, happy, or excited. So I try to capture that with my art.
Ramotseng was recently involved in a project that involved using art to deal with children's issues, to teach children to use art to express themselves.
We were trying to keep them away from the streets. So I got involved in the program. I was part of the people who were taking care of the kids. But seeing that the kids, sometimes they don't concentrate, sometimes they lose focus, I joined them. I joined the class to try and keep them busy, to try and make them more serious. I was a part of the class and I took lessons with them.
Ramotseng uses paper collage and recycles magazines to create his artwork. Yolisa Njamela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
And it's just about time for us to check in on all the day's sports. Here's what's coming up. Egyptian football crisis deepens as interim officials are dismissed.
The year 2020.
It was a year like none before, shaped by the COVID-19 pandemic. Africa, seemingly spared the worst of it, still took a huge hit with unprecedented disruptions to healthcare, the social and economic order. Climate change also took its toll on Africa. Shifts in temperature affected food productivity and availability of water and the overall security of the African people. The continent saw major political changes too. Several countries held successful elections despite the pandemic, while others made strides towards lasting peace. This was 2020, a year unique in so many ways. CGTN will highlight some of the top stories we covered as the year unfolded.
Invasion in several parts of the country.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find